Imagine this. Bombs falling every night, families wiped out in seconds, children buried under rubble before they've even learned to read. The world watches, some look away, others defend the violence. They say, this isn't genocide, and if you dare to question it, your name might end up on a blacklist, your career destroyed, your voice silenced. Welcome to Gaza, and the uncomfortable truth about why this genocide is both similar to and terrifyingly different from so many others. In most genocides, the world either wakes up too late or admits the horror after it's over. But in Palestine, the defenders don't just deny, it's almost an industry. Critics are smeared as anti-Semitic. Students, professors, journalists targeted, doxxed, and harassed through networks like Canary Mission. Entire campaigns are run to strip them of jobs, reputations, even residency in their own countries. This isn't just war, it's a coordinated effort to make sure no one dares to speak the truth. History has seen many genocides. The last century alone is stained with them. Rwanda, for example, 1994. In just 3 months, Hutu militias, guided by a poisonous ideology called Hutu power, slaughtered around 500,000 Tutsis, and even moderate Hutus. Fueled by myths of racial superiority, they imposed apartheid, outlawed friendships across ethnic lines, and criminalized defending a Tutsi's humanity. The world responded. Too late. The UN embargoed arms to Rwanda, but France and apartheid South Africa broke it. UN peacekeepers eventually entered, and the killing stopped. But not before rivers ran red with bodies. Years later, even Bill Clinton admitted his inaction was a failure. But notice, nobody in the West defended the killers while they were killing. The Tutsi death toll in those 3 months is close to the estimated Palestinian toll over just recent years, without even counting the first Nakba of 1946-1948, when hundreds of thousands were expelled from their lands. Since then, around 1,500 Palestinians have been killed every year on average, plus countless imprisoned, dispossessed, or attacked by armed settlers. The difference? Rwanda's horror burned fast and ended. Gaza's horror is decades long and still burning. No one back then said, the Hutus are just defending themselves. No journalists sat at news desks with Rwandan flags beside them, excusing mass murder as national self-defense. No lobbyists in Berlin, Washington, or Buenos Aires demanded loyalty to Rwanda, nor did world leaders pass laws criminalizing support for Tutsi rights. The Zionist project in Gaza, however, enjoys open support from some of the most powerful governments and media empires in history. Prime ministers receive standing ovations in foreign parliaments. Military aid flows without pause. Those resisting occupation are branded as terrorists, and their very humanity is debated on primetime TV. John Kambanda, Rwanda's prime minister during the genocide, didn't have the most powerful lobby in the West. He wasn't welcomed in the Oval Office or funded by Wall Street giants like BlackRock or JP Morgan. He didn't influence elections across continents or have intelligence agencies working on his behalf. He ruled for just 3 months before facing trial and a life sentence for genocide. In contrast, the political architecture defending Israel's actions spans decades, crosses oceans, and holds immense influence over policy, media narratives, and even free speech laws in other countries. In Rwanda's genocide, no American governor ordered professors not to say the words Tutsi or Hutu supremacy. No masked agents abducted students for writing articles. No one lost their job in Paris or New York for teaching African history. Today, in the case of Palestine, entire courses are canceled, careers ended, and public speech chilled. The political pressure is so intense, it can dictate the vocabulary of entire nations. When Rwanda's genocide ended, trials followed. Leaders, soldiers, and propagandists were sentenced to decades in prison. The system acknowledged the crime even if justice came too late. But in Gaza, impunity reigns. The architects of the destruction stand applauded in the halls of power. Their military campaigns are defended as security measures. The machinery of violence continues to operate, funded, armed, and protected by some of the wealthiest nations on Earth. In most genocides, once the evidence becomes undeniable, the world eventually unites in condemnation. Memorials are built, apologies are made. Textbooks record the atrocities, so they are never forgotten. Rwanda, Bosnia, Armenia, their tragedies, though often ignored at first, were later acknowledged as crimes against humanity. But with Gaza, the global stage is split. While some countries demand accountability, others double down, sending more weapons, more funding, more political cover. The same governments that claim to champion human rights in one part of the world excuse mass civilian deaths in another. The rules seem to change depending on the victim and the perpetrator. And when justice itself becomes selective, it's not just the oppressed who suffer. Our shared moral foundation begins to crumble. Every genocide is a wound on humanity. But Gaza's is unique in its duration, its global protection, and the scale of its denial, while it's still happening. It's not just about the killing, it's about the normalization of killing, about turning oppression into policy, about making compassion a crime. History will remember Rwanda's genocide as a 3-month storm of unimaginable brutality. It may remember Gaza's as a slow-motion fire, kept alive for generations, fueled not only by weapons but by the silence, complicity, and active support of much of the world. And perhaps the hardest question we'll face is this: when the truth is undeniable, will we admit that we watched it burn and did nothing?